Much of the early parts of the American Revolution took place in the port city of Philadelphia. It was also one of the main starting points for many migrants. What was this place like? Philadelphia had a population of about 32,000 at the time of the American Revolution. It was America's largest city. New York City was second with about 25,000, and Boston was third with about 16,000 people. Given that the population of all 13 colonies was about 2.5 million people, we can see that most people lived outside of major towns in rural communities. Now, Pennsylvania had a reputation for religious tolerance and lots of land. In fact, it was considered the best poor man's country and attracted people of all sorts. Most migrants came to the city first and then would set out for the backcountry and frontiers. By the mid-18th century, about 10,000 people arrived in Philadelphia each year, with most moving on to other locations. While many migrants came to the city, most moved to the hinterlands and to the frontiers to try to acquire cheap land. In fact, most of the people in the city blamed these migrants for conflicts with the Native American people. Philadelphia was also a very diverse city. It was among one of the most diverse cities in North America. Its inhabitants included Swedes and Finns, Dutch and Germans, Irish, Scotch-Irish, English, Welsh, Native Americans of multiple groups, and Africans from many different locations. Its greatest growth was due to immigration. In fact, after about 1730, the city was no longer dominated by the British, as the Germans had become the largest population group. Numerous European religions were also practiced. Quakers had their meeting houses. There was a Church of England, Presbyterian Church, a Methodist Church. Baptists, Moravians, Anabaptists, and Lutherans all had their churches. There was even a Catholic church in Philadelphia. Philadelphia was also a booming city. It had a large port, which meant shipbuilding and carpentry, masonry, construction, merchants, and trade. The large population was supported by fertile farms attracting farmers, weavers, millers, and such. Numerous inns and pubs, a library, a Pennsylvania hospital, a state house, public parks, and the College of Philadelphia, which would later be called University of Pennsylvania. Philadelphia was also uneven in terms of wealth. Many migrants were very poor, moving to the city from Europe to try and make a living. Many of these people were indentured servants. Men migrated at about a 4-to-1 ratio, showing an uneven gender distribution. And also about 1,000 of the residents were African slaves. Philadelphians of all socioeconomic levels bought slaves. Now, Philadelphia's most famous resident was undoubtedly Benjamin Franklin. He had founded the first lending library, which was called the Library Company. The rules of the library were simple. If you paid a yearly fee, you got to borrow the books. If you didn't pay the yearly fee, you could still borrow the book, but you had to put down a down payment that would cover the cost of the book if it ever needed to be replaced. He also helped create the American Philosophical Society, which became quite active just prior to the Revolution. He was the editor and writer of the Pennsylvania Gazette and the Pennsylvania Chronicle. He was Postmaster General. He was founder and president of the Academy and College of Philadelphia. He helped create the Philadelphia Union Fire Company, and he helped found the Pennsylvania Hospital. Despite never attending college himself, Franklin was known as a critical thinker and a prodigious writer. He wrote Poor Richard's Almanac, he discovered the lightning rod, and he also had several other publications that took Europe by storm. For our part, it is necessary to realize that his advances in science and industry, in writing and philosophy, had made him the darling of France long before he ever set foot there. He was well known and very highly regarded, and it was he who would eventually secure French armaments and a later treaty. My main point in discussing Philadelphia was so that we could get an idea of what this important city was like. It became the de facto capital of the fledgling United States as Congress sat and met there. But its own population was remarkably diverse, just like that of the United States.